Hey everyone, thank you so much for purchasing our presets. We're really excited to help you guys become better editors and to see all your photos. And today I'm going to kind of walk you through what I do after I apply the preset so I can help you guys better utilize them and use them the way that I do, the way that all of our photos look. So, and sorry I sound a bit raspy, I just woke up. Okay, so we're going to start with this photo. I absolutely love this photo. The sky is amazing. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know how much I love blue skies. So we're going to jump into the presets here, and you can see over here on the left that you can preview them. A lot of them could work. I could use sun, I could use light, I could use palms, I could use, honestly, not the indoor ones. Those are just for indoor photos, which I'll show you later after this one. But I think for this specific one, I'm going to start with, let's just do sun. So you can see already it's really overexposed. So we're just going to go to the exposure and turn that down. And you can see already how much detail it brings back into the photo. A lot of the presets, the first thing you'll have to do when you apply it is mess with the exposure. If it's super bright, you apply it and it looks like this, don't just immediately think, oh wow, like that's a bad preset, it doesn't work with my photo. Just mess with the exposure and you will be able to find styles and colors that you like. So I really like the way that looks, but the next thing that I want to go to is my highlights, and I always make sure my highlights are pulled down because, as you can see in the sky, how much detail it brings back. So I always pull down my highlights and my whites as well, unless I need to pull up my whites. Like if you pull it up, it just makes it so your whites stand out more, but I do often like my photos to have my whites pulled down. And then I do usually pull up my blacks and pull up my shadows, which this preset already has that. But for example, if they were too low and your photo looked like this, and you can see the blacks are really strong, go ahead and just pull up the shadows and pull up the blacks, and it looks really nice. You start to lose some detail if you pull them up too much, but that's personal preference. So I really like this. Next, go down to clarity. This is what it would look like if the clarity wasn't up versus bumping it up. That's obviously a lot. This is obviously not enough. So I like mine to kind of be in this soft spot right here. I do like us to stand out. So that's kind of pretty much everything I do here. Also, temperature is a big thing as well. If your photo is too cool or too warm, go with your personal preference. I really like my photos to be more warm, but at the same time, if there's ocean or blue skies and I want to really keep that, if you make it too warm, see back here, the mountains and the sky now don't stand out very much. So I like mine to have a good mixture of cool and warm, but it also depends on the photo once again. Okay. So you can already see before, after. Okay. I don't know, what was that black and white? Okay, now that looks normal. All right, so now I come down to my colors. So this is something that's really important in our photos. I like to start with orange first. So to get us to not look orange like a Oompa Loompa, I like to turn down the saturation, but then I also like to pull down the luminance. So if you pull it down a lot, it's like this, pull it down or pull it up, then you get really white. Once again, depends on your personal preference. So I do like to pull down the saturation and then pull down the luminance because I like us to be tan. So I kind of like that, but actually with a little bit more orange. That looks pretty good. And then you can mess with hue if you want, depending on your skin tone. If you have more of a yellow undertone or red undertone, like that's just something that you'll have to slide, figure out for yourself. So I kind of like that, and then I kind of go through them all and look. Greens are always a big one. I like to pull my hues to the more like bluish side of the greens rather than the yellow. You can see in the trees the difference that makes. But once again, if you're going for like a theme on your feed, if you want always certain types of colors on your Instagram photos, this is where you can constantly use the same hue in all your photos to keep that consistency. So I like mine to be over to the right side. And then once again, this is if you mess with the luminance, you can see One of my favorite things though is going to the yellow and pulling the yellow luminance up. But in this case, because there's all this grass, I kind of actually want to pull it down just so I can bring back some of this detail over here. But I do not like that the yellows are too like orangey, so I'm going to pull them over here and make them more green. So you can even see just right there how much of a difference that makes. But I don't want it to be like super, super saturated. So I'm going to pull down the saturation just a little bit and then turn down the luminance a bit. And you can see that already makes a really big difference. So then, okay, let's come back over here. Why is my preview? Okay, there we go. I'm actually going to go back up and kind of turn down the overall saturation and pull down the overall vibrance. If you do want to ever pull more color into your photo, you can turn up the saturation, but look how this looks with the saturation versus if you pull up the vibrance. So always do vibrance. Saturation makes it look more like an old photo that you edited on Instagram and didn't really know what you were doing. Yeah. So then let's go down. Okay. I don't really mess with my highlights or shadows too much. I do kind of have them set in the blues because once in a while I do like to pull up the shadows. For blue, but I don't really mess with that. So then I come down, I don't really mess with any of this. I do enable lens corrections. So it's already applied, but you can see a difference because I shoot with Canon. I was using this lens. So it like you can change if you're using DJI like a drone or if you were using a GoPro, and it can apply those lens corrections, which is actually really awesome. And if you want more of the vignetting, you can actually come down to the manual side and you can decide if you want more or less. So if you decide that you don't like that much, but you still want some, you can do it manually. But I really like the way that it makes it look when I do that. Then I come down to grain. And a lot of my presets have grain. If you don't like it, like if you zoom in, for example, here you can see this is like a lot of grain. And this is none. So a lot of the presets come with it. If you decide that you don't like it, how it looks grainy, just you can scroll down to grain and you can change that. I like it because I think that it makes it look more like a picture or like a postcard, more vintage and retro. That's my style. So I like having some grain in there, but you can always change that, like I said. And then dehaze, I don't really mess with, but I will show you. I do use it in the brush tools. Then one thing that I do with a lot of my photos to make them have more of a turquoisey orangey color if you want is this blue primary right here. This is like one of my secret weapons. So if you pull it far down to the left, see how it gets more of that turquoisey orange color that you can see a lot on Instagram. So if you really, really want that, just pull it down. And then if you want to even saturate it more, pull up saturation. So you can see it's getting a bit crazy. We're going to like undo. I'm just going to... Okay, and then turn this back up. It's like right there. So if you really want to have that kind of color scheme, that's where you can do it. Same with these, but I'm not going to mess with those right now. I want to show you guys my secret weapon, like my actual secret weapon. It's this brush tool right here. You can click it and you can choose if you want to focus on exposure or if you want to focus on sharpening. I do so much with this, it's not even funny. Like most of my photos look the way they look because of the brush tool. So let's get started on the brush tool. I'm going to start with lightening and I'm going to pull it up even more on the exposure and we're going to make it about this size and we're just going to go over my hair because I always like my hair to stand out. And then if you want to see where you're drawing, you can just check this box and it will show you. So it's just like this. Now what I'm going to do is pull up the whites, not too much, and pull up the clarity, pull up dehazing. A little bit of dehaze does a nice job, but too much, you're definitely going to overdo it. So I pull it up a little bit, and then I actually don't like how like yellow it is. So I'm going to actually pull this down a little bit on the temperature, pull down the saturation a little bit, and then pull up the exposure a little bit more. And sharpness. So you can see that before and after right there. We'll do it one more time. Delete and undo. I know there are keyboard shortcuts, but I don't know why I'm so used to just clicking with my mouse. So when I'm done with that, press done, and then I'm going to go back and get a new brush. So you do have to go back and press the brush again to get a new brush. Then I'm going to dehaze the sky. So we're going to go to dehaze. I kind of like it where it's at. We're going to start with it there. And this is going to pull out the clouds so that they stand out more. So I'm just going to kind of draw over the clouds, specifically these clouds down at the bottom, because I want them to stand out more. So now watch when I pull up dehaze, what it does to the clouds. See how it makes them stand out a bit? This is where it was. And if you just pull it up, instantly it stands out. And I might actually, let's see, if I pull down the temperature. Once in a while, I'll pull down the temperature. And then I'm also going to turn up clarity as well. So that just made them stand out a bit. And I really like to do that in my photos. It gives them more depth. So definitely that's something that I do that maybe not everybody does. I like to mess with my dehazing and clarity and making stuff stand out. So next, I don't really like the color of this grass, like just specifically right here. So we're going to grab my tool, temperature, and I'm going to put the temperature down and the tint, maybe the exposure. Honestly, I just mess around with it. Don't be afraid to just grab the tools and just like see what you can do. Let's turn down the blacks and the shadows and more blue and some more green. Okay, I kind of like the way that looks. So let me show you. This is before that. Oh, whoops. Wrong one. Need to click on this. Done. Okay. So this is before. And then this is after. So you can see it just added more detail down here. Okay, next brush I'm going to use is, I think I'm going to do darken. And I'm going to go over this ground, this gravel right here. Actually, you know what? Do I want darken or do I want lighten? See, this is the struggle when I'm editing. I think I like, yeah, no, I like darken. And then I'm going to pull down the temperature so it's more blue. And we're going to turn up some clarity and dehazing. Bring in some of that. Okay, now I like the way the shadows are, but I don't like just these shadows right here. So I'm going to go to shadows and I'm going to pull up the shadows and I'm just going to draw over these specific shadows right here just so they aren't as strong. We're also going to pull up some, not too much of the blacks, mostly just shadows, and then probably whites a bit. Pull up some clarity. Brings back a little bit of it. And then color some more right here. Just so they don't stand out as much. So now you can see the before and after of that one. And then we bring it back. So there's that one. All right, I think we're pretty much done with this photo. Here's the before and after. And that's all I would pretty much do for that one. Next, I want to do an indoor shot. And these are pretty easy. So we're going to go, I have the indoor presets right here. As you can see, if I was to put sun over this one, it does not look that great. So we're going to undo that. This is why I made some specific indoor presets. So here's the first indoor one. It looks super nice on this picture. Like, I honestly wouldn't even do that much. I would just pretty much leave it like that. Next, let's do another indoor one. So we were having a spa day in Malaysia. This one is a lot darker than this original photo. As you can see, the original here is like this. It's dark, but not as dark as this one. So we're going to do indoor dark for this one. instantly you can see that made a huge difference. Here's the before and after. But I kind of think it's a bit too bright. I'm going to see what it looks like when I bring down the whites a bit. You can see it makes it less bright. If you really want it super bright, it's all up to you. But keep the highlights down. If I turn up the highlights, I feel like it like takes away too much of the detail. But if you wanted to bring them up and turn up the contrast and even more clarity, you would get some of those back and then turn down a bit of the blacks. But it's totally up to you. And then I would honestly go down, pull down the saturation of me, pull down the luminance. And yeah, that's pretty much what I would do for that photo. I don't think there's too much grain. There is a bit of grain, but it's also because it was a low light picture. Let's go to another indoor one. So then I have an indoor backlit. So if you're inside and you have windows, but you're taking the picture from behind, this is a great preset for backlit photos. I really like how this one looks. Honestly, if I wanted to bring out my face and my hair a bit more, I would grab my trusty tool again, my brush tool, and I think I would go to whites. Gonna pull them up and maybe a bit of clarity. And now whatever I do here, I will be able to paint on with the brush tool. So we can just kind of go over my hair and this side of my face and watch what will happen if I pull up the exposure. See how it gets brighter? So this is why I love the tool so much, you guys. I keep calling it a tool, but it's a brush tool. And then I'll bump up clarity, bump up dehaze. Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering so bad. This will bring back the details if you're losing any details. So I'll bring up whites, bring up exposure, and instantly that's what it looks like without it, and that's what it looks like with it. So I really like that little touch, and I think the rest of it looks great. I wouldn't change that much. Now let's go to an outdoor picture. Let's see which preset we want for this one. Okay, so we have sun, light, palms. Honestly, this is what I do. I just hover over them and see what they would look like on my picture. And I have a lot of variations of different presets because I wanted to give you guys just a lot to work with. I think, honestly, I might do... This is a struggle all the time. I can never decide because they're all good. I think we're going to do with overcast because there isn't much direct sun here. So this is what it first looks like. I am going to pull up whites a little bit. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to leave the whites down. And I'm going to pull up the exposure. The reason for that is that the whites, if you have the whites down, I feel it gives it more of like that typical Instagram blogger feel. And another thing I will do sometimes is down here in the tone curve, I will pull down lights as well and also highlights again. It kind of makes it more flat if you're looking for that type of style. But then I will like to mess with the exposure. And then contrast. And then some more clarity. So already this is the before and after. Something I'll do is I'll grab the brush tool. I'll go up to clarity, pull it up pretty high, and just brush it over the water just to give it some depth and make it stand out a bit more. And then maybe some contrast as well. So that's the before and after of that one. Just a little bit. But all the little details really make the difference, I think. All right, let's go to skin tone. So we're going to pull, I don't look too orange. I'm going to pull down the luminance a little bit, get me more tan. And then honestly, if I wanted my arm to look more tan, if I really wanted to, I would go over here and go into exposure, turn it down a tad and turn down the whites a tad. And I could draw it over my arm if I wanted my arm to kind of like match my body a bit more. And these are the little details that I do in the pictures all the time just to make them stand out and really more like a piece of artwork than just something I applied a preset on. If you want to mess with the hue of the blues, Go down here, go to blues. I like to keep mine in the turquoisey side. So this is more turquoisey and this is more blue. So you can change any color in your picture just by messing with these sliders. I like to keep mine around right here, and then aqua, you can see is more affecting the chairs. I like to keep my aquas kind of more on a blue side, but once again, personal preference. And then if I wanted to make the water like really dark, I could pull it way down like this, or I can pull it up, but it's up to you. So those are the basic things that I do with my photos. Let's go over one more. Let's do this one. All right. So, which one do I like for this? As you can see, once again, they all work really well. I'm going to do sun. Okay. I really like how this looks already. Here's a before and after. But I want to pull some more detail in. So we're going to pull down the blacks just a bit and the shadows just a bit. And then I don't like how this house is way too hazy. So we're going to go to dehaze. And I'm just going to brush over the house just to like give it some more detail. Pull it back into the picture. And then over here. Then I could pull it way up. As you can see what a difference that does. Or if you want it to be like super hazy. I think that looks good. Maybe turn up some clarity and a bit of contrast as well. And then if I wanted to change the color, I mean, I could make it more blue. I could warm it up a bit. It's just up to you. Then once again, you guys know how I am about my hair. So we are going to expose it and pull up whites and pull up clarity. And go to town on my hair. And then pull down the temperature because I like it to be more of like an ashy color. Turn up the whites a bit more. Turn down the highlights. Turn up exposure. And maybe a bit of dehaze actually. Yeah, so I like the way that looks. And then if there are some darker spots, I'll go over it more, but personal preference. So yeah, there's that. I actually think I'm going to pull down the white so that it looks a bit more natural, like that. And that's pretty much all I would do. If I wanted to make the sky stand out a bit more, I could pull down the luminance. It's already pretty down, as you can see. If they weren't already down, it would look more like this versus this. And let's see. Yellow, I want it to be, do I want to be more on the green side? You can change your greens by doing the sliders. Kind of like it right here where it was. Remember that the yellows very closely coincide with the greens. They go together. So if you're trying to change your greens and you're like, why aren't they changing very much? Go over to your yellows and mess with your yellows as well, because yellows and greens, they go together. Not that you guys didn't already know that. Obviously you knew that. I'm tired this morning, but I'm really glad that I was able to show you this. I didn't do all these pictures down here, but I just wanted to show you how to utilize mostly the brush tool, how to utilize the HSL sliders, luminance, and how to do the lens corrections. And that's mostly it. So if you guys have any questions, definitely come hit us up on Instagram, DM us, send us an email, whatever. We want to help you guys. And remember to use the hashtag GGPresets when you post your pictures so we can see all of your beautiful creations. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time. Peace out.